Hey guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and today I'm going to be speaking to Dribbz, who's a good friend of mine, great rapper, R&B star. He travels up and down the country and around Europe as well to do amazing shows with his music. But today we're here to talk about mental health and creativity. Before we get into this, I want to say hi to Vix. How have you been? Catching in?
Hello. Or shall I say yo?
Yo. Yo.
Yo.
Obviously, you weren't free on this one, but it's good to check in with you and make sure you're all right.
Yeah. I think it's so important talking about mental health and also creativity. You know, I'm into all that. So yeah, brilliant. This is going to be great. Well done, Dribbz.
Yeah, and getting lost into a project or lost into work is something that I'm finding like it's both a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes you can really get lost in, like when I'm editing or making stuff, like and time flies by, like I'm like, oh my god, I've been sat here for 3 hours, people in the coffee shop like, why is he not left? You know what I mean? I'm kind of like, that is amazing, but you can also get like, it's like you can snowball a bit, can't you? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And burn yourself out a little bit. But we're going to find out what Dribbz thinks about mental health and music, and mixing one with the other, like how can you can make music to talk about mental health as well, so it's really good. But yeah, we're not going to rattle on too much. We're going to leave you with this podcast, and I'll catch you at the end, Vix.
Yeah, cool.
Peace
out.
Peace out. This is Dribbz on the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast. Guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and today I'm doing a bit of a really cool collab episode with a good friend of mine, Dribbz, an amazing artist that I interviewed on my I decided I wanted to do an adult-friendly podcast called The Biscuit Guy. And then I realized, actually, it's really hard to run two podcasts at the same time. I can't do it anymore. I don't have the energy. We did an episode. It was really good. But then I stopped doing The Biscuit Guy. And so I thought we definitely need to get this guy on the Shrewsbury Biscuit, because when it comes to his music and the openness of talking about mental health and how it helps with creating, absolutely important to talk about these things. And Dribbz is the perfect guest. So Dribbz, thank you for coming on the Biscuit and inviting me around your house as well.
Thank you for having me. It's a bit of a strange feeling being in the opposite seat, but I appreciate you asking me to come on, mate. I really do. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming.
We've got no Vix today. Vix, it's a weekend. Vix single parent, and so I was like, I got to do a thing on the weekend. She's like, I got the kids. I was like, yeah, that's cool. And that's how we run. That's how we run things.
It's kind of worked out well, because I only have the function for the two mics. So if Vix was here, it would be swapping against the two, and it'd be quite intimate being sat on that sofa there, mate. There ain't much room to the side of you, and that's no reflection on yourself. It's just quite a small chair in general.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Vix wants to be that close to me. In all honesty, I mean, I don't blame her. But yeah, so I wanted to bring you on the podcast to talk purely about. I mean, obviously your music is important. Let's do a quick recap because people might not have listened to that Biscuit Guy episode, but born and bred?
Absolutely, born and bred in Telford, to be exact.
Yeah, Donington, we were talking about, you're from Donington.
That's right.
And I love how passionate you are about where you're from, because you were just talking about your first album as a hip-hop artist, how you included the Donington Parade with a nice background, and it must be really nice to have that sort of pride of where you're from, right?
Definitely, yeah. I wanted to kind of pay homage on my first album to Donington, because you know what? I'm trying to break the barrier and the stigma, because there's a lot of stigma around council estates, Alex, as you can imagine. And, people go, oh, they're scum of the earth. Well, no, there is actually, yes, you get your bad places, but there is actually some of the nicest people in Donington that would walk to the end of the earth for you. Do you know what I mean? And I'm kind of trying to promote that and trying to be the voice for people that, aren't necessarily heard.
And that's really good. As a council estate brat myself, I lived in many throughout Telford, Wrexham, not so much Shrewsbury. But yeah, we've it's I think in a place like that you can really find yourself if you really want to, and there are different ways to do that. And obviously, like, you're a musician, but where did you suddenly realize, music is how I want to, this is what I want to do. And when did you first start doing that?
Okay, so I'm 37, 38 at the end of this month now, Alex. Knocking on that 40 door. 15 years of age I was when I first started writing music. I found it a release for things that I might have been going through at that particular time. Music really helped me. I didn't have any intention to put this music out. It was more getting my feelings down on paper, and it's progressed that much now, but that same kind of, that same baseline of putting my feelings down on paper is still very applicable in all my music today. This is exactly what I do. I write stuff of how I'm feeling about, the world in general or emotions on that particular day. And I think, Alex, you can get some of your best possible work by being true to your feelings, because so many people listen to my music and they go, I can feel every word that you're saying. And it's true, Alex. It sounds a bit cliche, but when I'm in that booth just around the corner from you there's some particular tracks on the album that you've got there that genuinely I had tears coming down my cheeks when I was recording them. And it's nice now to listen back to them and see how far I've come. So it's like a progression.
See, I grew up with Wu-Tang, DMX, Dre, those kind of music, that music, the hip hop that I grew up with is very masculine, very kind of bloated egos type thing. When it comes to music, like what you make, even with the drum and bass stuff, it's there seems to be, people don't like to talk about their emotions so much, and I feel like we have turned a corner when it comes to mental health. We can talk about things now. It's not so much of a taboo subject. People are getting, but I feel like people are just starting trying to reel back a little bit now. The Andrew Tate nonsense, you can't talk about your feelings, you can't cry, all this sort of stuff. But I feel like I'm grateful to artists like yourself that actually are pushing the fact that yes, we can talk about things, and not just that, we can inspire people with
absolutely that. I went through, like yourself, I as a youth I listened to a lot of Tupac, all the gangster rap, and I was very much into Tupac to the point of I had all of his posters on the wall, I had all of his DVDs, I had biographies, you name it. He died in 96, but I was still very much a big fan of Tupac, and I loved how he would express and be the voice of his community, and that's kind of what I always pictured myself to do. And it's lovely now, fast forwarding all the years, that I am a voice of Donington. I can't even deny that. Genuinely, the support I get from Donington is amazing.
That's what we should call this episode, the voice of Shrewsbury. It's the voice of
yeah, exactly. And you know what, I listened to a lot of Tupac, and it was your gangster rap, but the one album that really changed my life, as in to the aspect of there's a different side of rapping, was a very early Plan B album. And a lot of people say, listening to my style, it's like I'm influenced by early Plan B. I'm not talking the latest stuff, the very, very early stuff. And that's exactly it. I listened to an early Plan B and it was like, so this is a UK hip-hop sound. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of, that definitely put the roots into everything that I do now. It's
really nice when you can really just let loose with something and not think, what are people going to think? Do you know what I mean? What will they think if I rap about this or that? It's nice to be able to just really fly with it and, maybe get a response. Have you had a response about your music? Are people digging what you're putting out there? Because, you've got to reach someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't get me wrong, I've had lots of support within the drum and bass scene, because next year I hit 20 years in the scene of doing regular raves, festivals, regular bookings, no time off, that isn't, which I'm quite proud to say. But it was a risk. I didn't know whether the drum and bass followers would follow me over to the hip hop, because let's face it, it's two different styles. But I'm very pleased to say that, the drum and bass supporters have followed me over to the hip hop as well. And, for that, if any of them are listening, I want to thank you guys directly, because you guys believed in me at times when I struggled to believe in myself. But no, it's gone really, really well, Alex. From the time of first releasing a track, people have just kind of got behind it. And I don't know whether that's to support me as a person as opposed to the music. I feel like it is to a certain extent, because you know, I like to say, Alex, there's more than just the music to me. You know, in one of my tracks, I say anyone can make 2 words rhyme. And it's true. Anyone can make 2 words rhyme on music, but you have to have more than just being an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were talking about, this is going to be a weird pull, but when we were chatting to Sean Owen about vintage football shirts, we were talking about David Beckham, and this is going to sound crazy, but I said David Beckham wasn't the best footballer on the planet, but he was marketable. People liked him. They wanted to be him, or the women loved him, or, you know, and like when he was going through his crazy phases, changing his hair and stuff, people could almost relate to that. If it doesn't matter how quickly you can spit bars or how great you can kick a football, if you're a bit of a knob, people aren't gonna relate to you.
100%.
And it's all about the person. It's all about your story and how you can sort of approach that. We were just talking about Ren. Ren is he is a musical genius when it comes to British hip hop or football music in general.
Yeah.
Because this guy will play the piano, play guitar, whilst rapping about some of the most the most when it comes to mental health, there's something real primal about some of the stuff he's talking about, you know? It's about survival and about how to navigate the world through the real extreme situations that you find yourself in when it comes to mental health. And I'm really grateful for that, because like I feel like when it comes to the Andrew Tate kind of toxic masculine world that we're finding ourselves in at the moment, you got people like him and yourself like clawing it back, and I think that's really, really powerful.
Ren is an absolute breath of fresh air to this UK hip-hop scene, in my opinion. You know, he's breaking down barriers.
Yeah.
You know, that particular track, I don't know the name of it, but, you know, he sat there in a gown with a guitar.
High Ren.
Is it High Ren? Okay.
High Ren. Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one.
It's a bit like the Gollum scene in Lord of the Rings, where it's like arguing with himself.
Absolutely. And that in itself is a skill with this music. You know, I released a track very, very recently with MC Slimothy D from Shrewsbury, and it's called The Enemy Within, and that is very Ren associated. It's having, you know, 2 voices in your head, one being your heart and one being your toxic mind. So, you know, it's kind of me relaying something positive and my mind's bringing it back to a negative. And you know what, Alex? That was very, very hard to record in the studio, because you almost had to put on this fake persona of a voice, and I had to find that voice that, you know, I had to sit there and think, what would my mind sound like? If my toxic mind had a voice, what would that voice be? Do you know what I mean? And that was a skill in itself to find that. But yeah, it was hard to do, but that's been received very, very well. It's been added to a lot of playlists. I've had a lot of people come back to me and say they can relate. And this is what it's all about, Alex. It's not about my ego. Trust me on this. You do have to carry yourself and you do have to have self-belief. But I've always said this with any of my music. If I can get one person to go, do you know what? I relate to that. That's job done, Alex, in my opinion. It really is.
Yeah, very important. Very important, very poignant as well. How's my voice sounding? I sound very quiet.
Yeah, you just need to turn the mic. The mic's gone to the side, so if you can turn it so the Dribbz logo's facing you.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
You're back sounding like Barry White there.
There we go. I was like, my voice is a lot deeper than that normal. I'm going to keep that in as well, just to show how good your microphone is.
Well, it's real, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now we very important part of the podcast. This is the reason we came here, is to talk about how mental health and being a creative sort of mixes, and what you can use one to perch on the other, you know. And because there are days when I'm feeling very insecure and I don't want to touch a microphone. I don't want to be anywhere near it. I don't want to speak to people. I just want to hide, you know. But then there are days where I feel like I need it, like oxygen, you know. I feel like I want to be out there making things. I want to be sitting there doing graphic designs for the logos and for the pod art. I want to be planning things. I had a really cool meeting yesterday with a podcast that we're planning for May. Like, I love those kind of things on those days, but some days I feel like I can't be around it. When did you realize that? Because obviously we've just had a chat outside about mental health and how we have our good days and our bad days. That when you learn that music can be like a crutch to you, something that you can use to absorb those emotions and make something actually quite good out of something negative.
Definitely lockdown. 100% lockdown, Alex. I'd been a drum and, like I said, I've been a drum and bass MC for 20 years. I dipped in and out of hip hop, but by no means was I taking it seriously, as in I can actually do something with this and utilize it. Do you know what I mean? And I first become aware of my mental health in lockdown, March the 23rd onwards, to be exact, when we went into, I think that might have been the second lockdown or maybe the first, but it was on my birthday anyway. I remember that much. And that is when I first realized that actually I can use this hip hop as a complete outlet to all of my emotions that I was feeling. That is the time that I first become aware of it. It was a little chat I had with a good friend of mine, Sean O'Hanlon, who's also my cameraman and been a producer on my first album, and he lives in London. And we had a bit of a chat, and I was telling him that I was feeling, you know, the emotions that I was feeling low. And, you know, he said to me, turn this negative into something positive. And, you know, I'm proud to say that's exactly what I did, Alex.
Yeah, I think I did something similar, because when we were doing lockdown, I just bought a studio for outdoors. I just bought tables and chairs.
Oh no!
I bought a marquee. I was like, yes, we're doing festivals. We're gonna be doing outdoor stuff. We're gonna be everywhere. And then the world closed, and I was kind of like, oh, what? Like, it was almost like I did an interview, and I learned that during the COVID that what we were all feeling was grief. It was grief for the loss of the world.
Really?
That's mad to think, isn't it? That we're all feeling grief at the same time, because our way of life had ended.
Yeah. And
it felt like a death to us.
That's very interesting that they put it that way.
Yeah. And, you know, I think there's so many people can. I mean, I was showing pictures the other day on Facebook about all the empty streets and all the empty cities and stuff. And I was like, do you know what? I worked all the way through the pandemic, and driving home was amazing. It was so good. It's like I Am Legend. There was nobody, literally nobody on the roads. And like,
what used to amaze me was the pictures of, more so around here near the Wrekin and whatnot, the pictures of like the deers coming into the housing estates and stuff. Do you know what I mean? That was like, you don't see that nowadays with people on the go all the time and society all around them.
We've kind of recoiled, haven't we? We recoiled a bit, and now it seems like life is like 90 miles an hour. Like, we're not paying attention. And we know what is weird though, is when you see like a shadow of what used to be, when you see like one of those space dividers on the floor or something, or you see a poster that tells you to wash your hands.
Yeah, they're still about, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're still about.
So weird.
And it's crazy, like looking back at some of the pictures and videos, you know, of like the social distancing and, you know, everything that we went through and everything that we abided by. And yeah, I mean, I know at the time it was important to do so, but when you look back now, you're like, did I really do that? Did I really go into that pub with my mask on? But when I got to the table, I was able to take my mask off. Like, that made all the difference. Yeah. Did that bit of plastic between
Germs
me
don't work when you sat down.
Yeah. Did that slight bit of plastic between me and the cashier really make a difference, you know? But yeah, because COVID couldn't bounce around, you know, over the plastic and under the plastic. It just hit the plastic and disappeared. It's very, very strange to see what we all abided by at that time.
Yeah, and there were a lot of small businesses, a lot of artists, and a lot of creative minds came from that, because obviously we're all feeling that kind of grief and that kind of sensitive. Being locked inside is not great for anybody.
No.
I mean, some people like it, but like I said, I have my days when I want to hide and my days when I want to be extroverted and kind of like push myself to the limits, you know. But I don't see myself as a musician or an artist or something, but I do see myself as a creator. I go out there and I make things. And if I don't have that, it becomes like an itch, doesn't it?
No, to me, Alex, like, you know, yes, you say you don't see yourself like that, but, you know, you're an artist creator in your own right. Do you know what I mean? In your own field. And that's just as important. It's important, you know, for me, like, as an artist, that, you know, you reaching out and saying, I'd like you on my platform, like, I massively appreciate that, because, you know, without you guys that show awareness to different subjects and topics and highlight different artists, we'd only have ourselves for self promo. So, you know, listeners from your channel, they could find, you know, their next favorite artist. So that's really important.
Yeah, and it's about learning about having that self belief. That is a huge learning curve for a lot of people. I think you've got to be able to, like, I think there's like the fine line between arrogance and actually, you know what, I'm good at what I do, and not being like, I'm the best. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
I keep saying this, like, as a music artist, to me, like, some people go, oh, do you think you're the best in the hip-hop game? No, I don't. Not by a smidgen, you know. There is so many artists locally. I mean, I'm going to name drop, you know. You got the likes of Trademark that's been doing bits all over Telford for years. You've got Ease the artist, which I know that you've interviewed, Matt, you know. Right. Ease is like, he's deadly on that mic, you know. There's not a lot of artists up and coming that can touch him, and I genuinely think he is the next best thing to come out.
Both those guys are my car playlist, by the way.
There we go.
Like, those guys are just phenomenal. I mean, I'll have Too Many T's come on. I'll have Trademark Blood. I'll have Easy Artist. I'll have Chase in August. I'll have like so many local musicians. You're right. There are some absolute killers.
There is. And I like to find, like with my music, Alex, I like to find hidden gems. Like you'll find with the album that I've gave you there, which is called Pieces of Me and is out everywhere, all streaming platforms, and it's out at HMV as well. But you'll find with Pieces of Me, Alex, you'll see that there's a lot of collaborations on the back with female artists. Now, I'm not going to say all of them, Alex, but most of them are little hidden gems that have been singing in their bedrooms that have amazing voices but no self-belief. And that's what I like to find, Alex. I like to go deep and go, you know, you've got an amazing voice. Do you fancy coming on a track? And they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then all of a sudden they've come on a track, and not only that, they've had their first radio play. And to see how absolutely stoked they are means the world to me, because with this music now, I feel like I've put my story out there. I've set a platform, which is where I'm at. And now it's less about me and more about bringing other people through, in my opinion.
I see Bassface on there. Bassface has been on the podcast like 3 times.
Come on, Bassface.
Can't get enough of the Shrewsbury Biscuit.
I love Bassface. He's a good friend of mine.
What up, James?
Very good friend of mine. And to be honest with you, my podcasts would never be possible if it weren't for Bassface. He puts a lot of effort, time, and work into my podcast.
He's a bit of a social butterfly as well. I noticed he commented on one of my best friends. I was his best man, Matt. I was up, Rubis. It was his birthday yesterday. Happy birthday for that. I shared a thing and James popped up and he was like, yo, you look different with hair. I was like, how do you know him? And he knows you. Like,
James is like dog muck. He just gets everywhere.
We love you, buddy.
Yeah, we do.
And like, do you think there's something happening in Shropshire with music at the moment? Or do you think it's always been that way and we just haven't noticed until now?
No, I genuinely think there's something happening with Shropshire at the moment. The way I see it, Alex, and this is a bit cliche, I wish that these artists would step out of their own lane. There's a lot of artists, and I'm not going to name drop, but they stay in their own lane. I'll always approach artists and say, look, do you fancy collabing? You know? And that's kind of, for me, it opens up ears, as in, you know, their supporters may not have heard of me, so they'll hear me, and vice versa. So it works both ways. And I like to represent Shropshire on a whole.
Cross-pollination.
Of course. But yeah, there's a few artists that are just like, you know, no, I'm not collabing, I'm doing my thing. But I wish that all of these artists in Shropshire would all come together for some sort of collaboration and represent the county on a whole. I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I agree.
You agree, yeah?
I totally agree. And I think Trademark Blood was like, is really important for that with the Shropshire Music Awards, bringing people together, because that's what that did. He's kind of like, oh, you're there, I've never met you before. Oh, there's Miss Ink over there. Oh, there's Easy Artists over here. There's all these amazing people. And there's, there's Macy O from Ludlow, and there's like all these people. Shropshire's big, like, do you know what I mean? And if you have something that brings people together, it just offer that kind of. And then when we talk about mental health and about sort of like using that music platform to talk about that, you might find someone that like absolutely matches what you want to get out there.
Exactly. Yeah,
and that's why it's important. That is why it's important.
100%. Yeah, I've found artists that I never thought my style would go with theirs, and you know, when we've kind of come together and it's just kind of fused as one sound, and yeah, that's a great feeling. That's a great feeling. And you know, being from the same area as well, that's even better. You know, I've collabed with artists from America and stuff like that, and it's great. You know, it is brilliant. I love the kind of UK versus American sound, because they love us over there, Alex. They love the UK sound.
Oh, I know.
They're mad for it, aren't they? They're mad for it.
We run. My God, I got a right frog in my throat today. It says country air. It's really nice around here. We run USOC for 2 years. We had an amazing relationship with the guys in California. Big shout out to George and Dave. And then we had Flugs down in Florida, and Tom Bruno, my boy, up in Vermont there. And we had a great team there. And then the guys in the UK, Jamie and Tom, myself, Lucy, Shane Chebsey. We had an amazing thing going, and it was really good building bridges with our brothers over there and our sisters in America, because there's so much that gets lost in translation between us. But they don't understand what it's like to live in a council estate the way we did. You know what I mean? And it's like, music is that bridge. I'm grateful to be around that. And what I think was really a good turning point for me was this podcast and being able to sort of invert that lens into our local community, because we all listen to Nas, we all listen to Outkast, we all listen to all these big stars, but there are stars like we just mentioned in and amongst us, and this podcast has given me the license to be able to listen to those artists and appreciate them properly.
And the thing is, we listen to Nas and we respect, the wordplay, and we respect all that, but that's a million miles away from the life we live.
Exactly, that's the point. Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But I feel like I need that creative flow. And what I did is I threw up a thing on Facebook last night. It was like midnight last night before I went to bed. I was like, this is really late. But I just put a thing just to say, I've got no questions, but I'm just curious about what people's experiences are with linking mental health with creativity. And we got 3 comments because it was late last night. Eric Fluger, the world famous artist in Florida, he put, "It's a juggling act to be sure." I wish he'd sent me a voice message, because he has the most amazing, he sounds like Mark Hamill. Honestly, he's brilliant. Right. He put, "It's a juggling act to be sure. Often one comes at the expense of the other, and rarely are they in perfect balance." And he's written a poem here, or a bit of word. He put, "We work in the dark, we do what we can, we give what we have. Our doubt is our passion is our task. The rest is the madness of art." And that's from Henry James, 1843 to 1916.
I love that. That. That's really applicable. I love that. And
Eric he took on a humongous task. So he started drawing the visual representation of the Force from Star Wars,
right,
on this mass. His art is phenomenal. He's famous because he used to do a lot of artwork for Hollywood Babylon for Kev Smith and Ralph Garman, which at the time was one of the biggest podcasts on the planet, and his art was fantastic. But when he took on this piece, it was so big and it took him so long that I feel like the days when because we did a podcast together for a bit, Yelling at Clouds, which was amazing. We looked at the art aspect of different movies and things. It was great, and letting Eric doing his thing was an absolute privilege. But when he started doing this thing, I feel like it became a chore. And now when your talent or the thing that you run to as that crutch becomes a chore, that's when life gets real up. And I'm going to bleep that out, because everything becomes upside down. Do you agree?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. The minute this becomes not enjoyable is when you're not giving your best to this music. It's more of, like you said, it's more of a chore. And I'll give you an example of that, Alex. I had a label approach me, only, I say recently, probably about 6 months ago. I've always been really proud to be independent. And I say that because when I'm independent, Alex, if I fail, I've only got myself to blame with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this label approached me, and they wanted, they gave me the terms and conditions, and I read them quite closely. And the one thing I really kind of focused on was the fact that they wanted 1 track released every 3 weeks without fail. Now, yeah, it could be, it's doable, but there may be times, Alex, where I just don't fancy writing music.
Yeah.
And when you're chugging them out every 3 weeks just because a label has asked for it, that's when the enjoyment goes, in my opinion.
And look at the Goo Goo Dolls. Another strange pull. The Goo Goo Dolls, he had writer's block, and he was asked to write music for City of Angels, a movie with Nicolas Cage. And he was like, I don't know what I'm going to write for this. He watched the movie, and that movie unblocked him.
Really?
Yeah, and that's where he wrote Iris. One of the most famous songs of all time.
Yeah.
And it does happen to everybody. Like, you know, there are days when I feel like I'm really good at the interview stuff now. I've over the years, I've kind of got
You're
a lot.
well experienced, mate.
Exactly. And it does come from that. But there are days when I just don't want to speak to people, but I have to. And like, I feel like you have to kind of like push things down and then to make room for what's really important in that moment. And that's quite damaging. And so we need that outlet. You need something that once you push it down, you can really release it. Do you know what I mean? And that's when I think bad voices can come in and sort of create things. I'm lucky. I'm not a big drugs or alcohol guy. I know you're similar. And that's kind of good, but I'm kind of jealous of that. I'm kind of jealous of people that can just smoke a joint, or they can do this thing that they do, because I don't have that. I now I've been playing a bit of Call of Duty when I'm feeling like I need a bit of a break.
I love a good bit of Call of Duty, me. I'm a DMZ boy.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, online DMZ boy.
We like our
every night, couple of hours.
Our multiplayer, we love that.
It's my release though, Alex. Again, like music, it's my release. You know, I can have a crazy day and I put that on, and yeah, I think everyone needs a release. And I don't take drugs. And like I said, I'm not a drinker. I'm teetotal. So I find, you know, my release through music and through a bit of gaming, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that.
I've seen a lot of posts recently about it's been really good. It's like women, I think they're rage bait posts on social media where women are like, oh, what you need to do with your guys when they're gaming, you need to do this or you need to do that. And then you get like a load of the guys sticking up for men who just want to have that moment of release with you know, having a few games of cards after work or something. You know, you'd need that moment, that time to decompress. And if you got somebody like really giving you crap for that, that's not healthy. That's not good. Let people be themselves. You know, let them do their thing. You need to decompress. And that, you know, when it comes to the time to be creative again, it will come.
Yeah.
After you've had that moment of chill.
And you need that level of support as well. Like, I've never really experienced doing this music completely on my own. And I say that in the aspect of my wife supports me in everything I do, Alex. Do you know what I mean? You know, big up my wife, because honestly, like, she's carried me through some very dark times, and she kind of strives to make me the best possible version of myself, genuinely. Do you know what I mean? And she takes all of my music and my bookings, you know, being away at the weekends, doing bookings, endless writing sessions in the studio. And, you know, she just gets on with it. And, you know, she's there for the kids while I'm kind of doing this. And she knows I'm chasing a dream here, Alex. And even if I don't, I always say, what's making it, Alex? What's making it? You know, people go, oh, you've made it, Dribbz. You've got your album at HMV. Nah, like, what's making it? And when you look at kind of that, when you break all that down, like, I'll give you an example, because I've got no problem in saying this, Alex. Like, people look at my album for sale in HMV and they go, oh, Dribbz, you've made it. I'll be totally honest with you. For me to put my album in HMV, they take 70% of my earnings. Yeah. So £10 an album, they take £7, thank you very much, and I'm left with £3 per album. So it ain't all glitz and glam. No. Do you know what I mean? It looks nice. That's the equivalent of putting a poster
in the post office. Do you know what I mean? That is literally what it is.
Yeah, it looks nice on the socials. It's nice as a bit of a, I've got an album for sale at HMV. Great. But when you look at the nitty gritty, it's not all glitz and glam.
Yeah, and it's hard work as well. That is your hard work right there on the shelf. And I mean, when it comes to our spouses and the people that do actually put up with our crap, because we are these creative people and we do these things, there are moments when I feel like for example, right, my wife is amazing. Like, I have to plan things meticulously in advance. I mean, this recording schedule is like an absolute anomaly because of what I'm about to tell you, right? My wife is amazing. She's so accommodating. But last weekend, she was like, you know, a couple of days before, she was like, oh, by the way, the weekend we're in Huddersfield. Now, that was the time I'd put to one side for editing and planning everything that I needed to do this week and further forward, you know? And I was kind of like, oh, wow, what? Why? Oh, are we good? And I was a bit upset that we were going to Huddersfield, and I was like, I really want to do the podcast stuff, you know. I was really like, there's this battle inside me, but then there's like also this like, it's family time. This is important. You need to do this, Alex. You need to just let go of the podcast, go and have fun with the family, and the universe will correct itself. Because the reason why I was like, all right, was because we went to Huddersfield on the Saturday and the Sunday. I was then at work at 7 o'clock in the morning on the Monday, which means I had no time for editing, no time for planning, and then I was in work for 4 days where I did. That's my phone on the floor. It's fine. And then there's 12 hours like in work, and then I just want to pass out after a couple of games of cards. You know what I mean? That is it.
Yeah.
So like there are times when I feel like I'm being really sorry, I'll take that. I'm really selfish in the fact that I feel like this is really that important to me that I'm willing to give up that family time, and that's not right. That's really not right. And this is why you need to remind yourself what's important.
This is what I said to you before we went on air. You know, this is what I've learned with myself. You know, I'm not getting any younger myself. You know, I'm knocking on that 40 door. My kids, my eldest is 16, my youngest is 13 now. All they've ever known is dad going to raves of a weekend to perform. You know, say if I'm performing on a Saturday, I'm not going to say a Saturday night, I'm going to say a Sunday morning, because some of my set times can be 3 till 4 in the morning, Alex. And then obviously traveling back, I'm no good for anyone the next day because I've got lack of sleep. And yeah, a lot of things recently have been put into perspective, and I'm seeing my kids getting older and older, and I'm thinking, you know, the music will always be there, Alex. Do you know what I mean? The music will always be there. And if I take a few, you know, if I don't take a few bookings, that's okay. That's not me failing. That's okay. And a typical example of that is last New Year's Eve, the New Year's Eve just gone. So the New Year's Eve before that, we're jumping 2 New Year's Eves now. I did 2 raves, one at Shrewsbury at D&B Religion, which if you haven't checked that venue out as a Shrewsbury man, you really need to check that venue. It's at the St. Mary's Church and Brewery. And it's basically, it is what it says. It's a massive church. When you pull up, Alex, you've got the big stained glass window with Jesus there. And then amongst Jesus, you've got big lasers coming out the side of it, and Jesus is lit up with these lasers, and you walk in and there's like, you know, there's the podium and the altar. It's called St. Mary's Church and Brewery. I'm not sure fully, but it's got a Shrewsbury postcode. But we regularly go to it. So I did a rave in Shrewsbury. You can check it out on Google. We did a rave in Shrewsbury and then travelled straight up the motorway to Birmingham, and I remember this. The New Year's Eve set at Birmingham. I actually
remember you did this.
So doing that, Alex, amazing. Big up Temper for putting us on that. Every MC's dream is to be on a New Year's Eve set at a reputable club and do the countdown, and we did that, so that was amazing. But upon that countdown, as we were doing the Happy New Year, I looked amongst the people and they were all like, I just thought, you guys are all strangers, man, and I don't physically care about you. Like, I haven't got a connection with you guys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a connection from the music, but not on a personal level. And basically what I'm trying to say is last New Year's Eve, I was booked again on a lineup at XOYO in Birmingham with General Levy, which again, every MC would be like, wow, I can't wait to go to that. My name was on the flyer, and I sat there and I thought, I don't want to do this. And I contacted the promoter and I was just like, can you take me off the lineup for this one? And I sat and played board games with my girls on the countdown to New Year's Eve. And that was probably the best night, the best New Year's Eve I've ever had. True story.
So important.
Mad, isn't it?
So important to be able to I mean, like, we talk about sacrifices, but which ones are the right ones to make, you know? I got a couple more comments. Jane Pickworth, my good friend, she put, with me, they work in harmony together, creating and mental health. Creating is part of my health, which is great. She's a voice artist, has done amazing things with CBBS and stuff. She's done really good stuff. But then she's realized recently that actually I'm an artist, and now she's doing some amazing, like, physical art, which is amazing. You're great, Jane, honestly. My good friend Pete Davis, you put too much to say. A decade ago, I was doing pretty well on the small press and comic scene, and my mental health pushed me to the point of not wanting to be there anymore. To think I was never good enough, going to be good enough, rebuilding it has been a struggle and still stops me from putting pencil to paper properly. Now, Pete, I relate to that. You know, I've taken on jobs where they're paid jobs, but they are a lot of work, and it's doing what I'm doing now. You know, it's not much different, like content creation, and they haven't felt the same. And that's because I feel like there's a lot of pressure when it comes to getting the job right. And when things are paid for, there's a lot more license for the person who wants that to be able to say, this isn't right, we need to change it and stuff, I think creating for, like what Dribbz was just saying, with the record label, creating for breadwinning, creating for making money and doing, what's expected of you is not the same as creating because you feel like it, because there's that urge to do it. And one of my greatest urges is to tell people stories. I feel like I'm an investigator of people and culture. And when it comes to Shrewsbury, I want to tell people stories. That is literally what I want to do.
Yeah, it's massively important to put your perception of things out as well. With these podcasts, it's all very well asking guest questions. And you know what, Alex, since doing these podcasts, I've found out things about people that they never would have presented to me before. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I appreciate every single guest that I've had on my show. I've drawn quite deep in the personal questions, and they've been very amicable and very comfortable in answering these questions. And you almost feel, and you're probably the same, you almost feel quite honoured that they feel comfortable enough in your presence to be talking about things that they've never spoke about. For example, Shrewsbury based, hardcore, absolute legend of 30 years, MC Lively. I had him on my show the other week. He disclosed things. He's done countless interviews, countless podcasts, and his wife got in touch with me and was like, Dribbz, he's never spoke about what he talked about with the mental health to anyone. I even struggled to get it out of him. So the fact that you two were strangers but then sat down and he felt comfortable enough to disclose this is a beautiful thing. And yeah, I feel honoured that my guest will do that, and I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, it is, because that's one of my skills, is being able to kind of relax people. So many people. I mean, I've interviewed definitely over 1,000 people from around the world, with both Biscuit, Yusuk, and Thorskin.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we had Carol Baskin come on.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. She was amazing. She really was. I mean, this is it about media misconception. That we all watched that show. We all saw how horrible Carol Baskin is. But when she came on the podcast, she was great.
Really?
She really was. We talked about, me and Tom were like, we could get sued if we say the wrong thing here. So we need to be very careful what we do. And so we were like, we're going to talk about conservation, and that's it. And she brought up the bits of the show, not us. So I was like, oh, there you go. Yeah.
You're doing it. Okay, let's go.
Let's go there. Okay, where are they buried? I'm joking. I'm joking. She was good. But the point I was trying to make is that after that, you get used to making it just conversation. That's what it is. What is it about life out there away from a microphone that makes us so timid about talking about our own feelings and our own insecurities? And when we put you in front of a microphone, we can extract that information out of you in the most unnatural way, just by making you feel a bit more relaxed. And I have been able to have to do that. I've had some breakthroughs. I've had some really horrible, we've talked about river safety. I've talked about health. I've talked about eyelash extensions. I talk to rock bands, hip hop stars, musicians, movie stars. I've talked about so many things with so many people that literally nothing can shock me anymore.
Yeah. And effectively, when you think about it, these podcasts, it's not like you're having a chat with them and whatever they disclose is not going to go anywhere other than this room. These podcasts are going out anywhere, all over the world, but they still disclose these things. And the fact that they do is a very honourable thing for a podcaster to be sat there and to do.
Well, let's talk about Dribbz Talks. I mean, what inspired you? What made you want to make a podcast? You're making music, you're doing these things, you're amazing things. What made you want to slow down and go, actually, we need to talk about these things?
So, I've been toying with the idea for a very long time. I'm very good at speaking to people. That is kind of one of my qualities. I don't know if it's the ADHD. I don't know what it is. I don't like to kind of wing that card, but yeah, I'm very good at speaking to people. I've always got a genuine interest in people, and I didn't want to stop there with the music. I wanted to, as I said to you, anyone can make 2 words rhyme. Anyone can release a track every other month and call themselves an artist. To be an artist and to be successful, you need to have more than just music, in my opinion. Far more than just music. You have to have a likable quality and I guess people like me. And
so the podcast is a way of unlocking those qualities in people.
100%, yeah. And I can apply all them qualities that I believe I've got to the podcast. And true say, you know, it's working. I listen to a lot of crime podcasts. That's kind of my thing. I love housework, Alex. Let's just get that twisted. I love housework. It helps with me with a lot of things. When I'm stressed, I turn to housework. Now, alongside housework, I stick a podcast on. That's the time when I listen to them. Yeah. And it's like, you know, the All or Nothing show. I listen to a lot of podcasts, real dark crime podcasts, you know, gangster podcasts. I love all that stuff. But aside from the crime and the, you know, the gangster ones, I also listen and had been listening for many years to the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast.
No way.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I told you this before, and
I'm gonna act shocked like you haven't told me before.
No, it's
cool. Ready? Oh no, really? That's really nice of you. Thank you. No, genuinely though, thank you.
You're quite good at acting as well, aren't you?
not bad. No,
you're even pretending, showing interest in my podcast. So I like that.
That's balls to the walls.
But no, man. Like honestly, mate. Like literally, I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me. And I have said this in many different interviews when they've asked me what inspired me with the Dribbz Talks podcast. It was yourself, because you know just how you didn't stick to one lane and one theme of podcasting, and you actually went out there and interviewed everyone and anyone that had a story. I've kind of took them values on, and it's not as a rival podcast, not in the slightest. Never ever. It's more, you know, I can do this as well. And that's kind of what I've applied to these podcasts, and they seem to be going really well.
I've been talking a lot about this lately because, like, there were a couple of like Shrewsbury based podcasts. There wasn't really, when I first started, there wasn't a podcast about Shrewsbury, but there were definitely podcasters around from the area. Whereas now there are lots. Like the environment has changed, and now there's so many people. I mean, like, there was a Rick and Morty saying, was it Rick and Morty? I can't remember. I see it where like they said podcasters the new lower back tattoo, and I was like, okay, fine. But
the tramp stamp. Okay, fine, whatever.
But like, there are so many aspects about the world that we're just not talking about. There are so many businesses out there hidden in the back end, the Grope Lane, and all these places in Shrewsbury and in Telford that you never heard of until we get the owner on. There's so many musicians out there that have got a story to tell that we can do that with a podcast. There are literally, you can make a podcast about anything.
Absolutely, and I think like especially with the music artists, you know, you get to learn their backstory of why they did what they do. And it's a very, very interesting thing because, you know, when you're listening to their music, you haven't got the chance to say, well, why are you writing about that? Is there been anything in your life that's happened to why you're writing about that? You just accept that that's the content they're putting out. But yeah, with these podcasts, you get to listen, you know, I'm only focusing on music here as an example, but you get to listen to their whole backstory because I like to go, you know, I like to start from the very start. You know, did you grow up in a musical household? You know, what kind of, was there any particular person that you looked up to which shaped your life? Was there any particular events that you went through that really shaped your life? Did the area that you grew up in, you know, make you, teach you some valuable life lessons? And all them things provide a massive picture of the final product, which is the music artist.
It's finding out the DNA, what makes that person who they are,
exactly,
why they are the way they are, and that's why I love what I do. And I've got ideas like I've got ideas, but I want to go around the world. I want to speak to people from all different kinds of culture. That's what my dream would be, is to get paid to go around and speak to people from all around the world. I always wanted to do like a coast to coast US tour thing.
Wow.
I'd love to do that, but I mean, maybe not so much at the moment. A bit turbulent at the moment, I would say.
I mean, with having like, sorry to interrupt you there, with having the opportunities like Alex, I've been doing this 2.5 months now. I'm on episode 21 of a range of different things, from surrogacy. I've had a lady that does surrogacy, anti-knife crime, music artists, massive headline DJs that have actually took the time to come down. I've got a few forthcoming. you know, like I've only been doing it a matter of months, and me and my good friend who I MC with everywhere, who actually lives 2 doors away from me here, which is amazing. He's recently moved in, which means the work rate is going up. We've both got studios. Exactly. So we're both performing in Kavos for a drum and bass week. So we're going out. Yeah, man. So we're going out there in June. We're playing with a load of headliners. You know, there's boat parties, everything. You know, it's an absolute dream to be performing there. So big up Fantasy on that. And I asked Fantasy for a voiceover. You know, this is DJ Fantasy. You're listening to Dribbz Talks podcast. He did that for me, and then said to me, how about you bring your podcast equipment over to Kavos and be our official podcaster to interview the headliners? That's 2.5 months since I started up this idea. So that goes to show that you just don't know where these opportunities are going to take you.
Exactly.
And I think it's more about, and it's like this with music as well, I see it all the time, it's more about who you know and the connections you get. And
you got to keep at it as well. And this is what people come to me for advice all the time. They do. Like, I'm not just saying, but like, how do you get an audience to grow? How do you create a podcast? I'm like, get in your community. Find out who's about and doing what. Like, get involved with local events. Find out local. Even if your podcast is about music, what do other local people feel about local artists? What venues are out there that can do? What suppliers are out there to help people? Who makes instruments that can people? There are so many ways you can get in and amongst your community.
When I first started, I was like, I'm going to do music. Because I've got a lot of links to music, to some very big artists, you know, I'm going to do music, I'm going to interview MCs and DJs. That's boxing me off to one particular category.
Exactly, right. So you got to segue off to...
So now I've gone with Dribbz Talks. So it doesn't matter who it is, I'm talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for that, it's opened up so many opportunities. And I like to, and I'm sure it's the same with you, surrogacy, for example. So I interviewed a lady who does surrogacy for a couple and is doing it again and again. I knew nothing about that, Alex. So the night before, I always try to research my ass off and find out, you know, a lot of statistics, a lot of just general information. So when I go into that podcast, it shows that I think it's really important that you're showing an avid interest in what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
If you're just giving box questions, monotone, and it makes rubbish.
It's got to be a conversation.
It has to be a conversation. It has to be. You know, the last podcast I did was a lady who is a coach for a girls' team, grassroots, and Wrekin Lionesses, and she was speaking about women's rights within football. I had no idea about that. So I jumped on, you know, Google, had a look at women's rights, read about the 50-year ban. Did you know about that? It's quite interesting.
The 50-year ban?
Yeah, man. In 1920s, they put a 50-year ban on women playing football on any pitch that was associated with FIFA.
Yeah.
Now, how sad is that a big generation of women couldn't actually have any interest in...
Was it during the 70s or the 80s? There was actually a movement...
70s.
Women.
Yeah, man. So, how mad's that? So, I didn't know about that. So, researching it the night before... I was able to go into that podcast and talk about that I never knew about before. So I think that's dead important to show an avid interest in. It doesn't matter if I'm not interested in it. You've got to have an avid interest.
Exactly right. And there's that famous Harry Shearer scene in Wayne's World with and they're just talking nonsense down the microphone. Like, I love that. But that's what this is all about. And I said to my wife when before I came out, I was like, so we're going to be talking about mental health and creativity. I was like, and this is one of those podcasts where you have to do a lot of listening and also not like oh, so you went for that, I went for that too, you know, because that can be nice to relate to someone, but like not with everything. Don't be like, oh yeah, I did that too, and I've had this too. But that is how we relate to each other. But when it comes to mental health, you have to listen. And her response was, well, you do anyway. And I was like, yeah, thank you, darling.
A big one for me was I had to teach myself constructive criticism. I was horrendous at taking constructive criticism.
I think we all are.
Do you know what I mean?
Even
I really had to teach myself.
Pretend like, oh, cheers, mate. Like,
yeah, like I'd write a track, Alex, and I'd take hours to write this track, and then I'd like excitably go into because my wife, you know, is kind of. I'd always go to her and show her the latest project, and I'll be like, you know, just pause the TV. And she's like, no, I'll listen later. I'm like, no, you got to listen to it now. You got to listen to it now. And she'll listen, and she'll go, oh, there's probably too many syllables in that one. You're trying to say too many things in one verse. And I'm like, no, it's not. I think it's great. And I've had to kind of teach myself now that actually the criticism isn't negative. It's for you to work on, you know?
Yeah, there's constructive criticism, and then there's just nastiness on social media. Like that can happen. I mean, I've been called all the names under the sun on social media, which is fine.
Same. I've been called council estate trash. What in the 50p energy drink is this? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, based on my appearance, mate, honestly, hand on my heart, I get stereotyped anywhere and everywhere, and I mean that because of what I wear and how I present myself.
And that's wrong.
It's wrong,
it's
man.
Wrong, especially if they listen to your music.
I'm a nice person. Like, I ain't gonna rob your house and take your flipping trainers off your feet. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a nice person, and I think people look at me and they go, "Oh yeah, he's head to toe in Nike. He's got tattoos on his arm, so he must be out to rob me." And
you know what? I feel like when it comes to approaching people that are different, I learned a lot when I was on the rough sleeper team. I did outreach for a year with the council.
Amazing.
It was good. I mean, I to be brutally honest, I was struggling with my own life towards the end there, and I was kind of like, if I'm struggling with my own life, how can I help other people? Yeah. So I had to step away for a bit. After like 9.5 years of being a support worker, it's crazy. But what I had to learn was that we all have these like misconceptions about homeless people, and we have these things, these ideas built up of us about because of what media tell us, and what we all see the bum on movies and stuff like that. These are just normal people. And yeah, some of them may be attached to crimes, maybe some of them take drugs and stuff, but what you got to do with situations like this, you got to really just relax, man. These are just normal people. There's nothing wrong with you walking into a group of people that you don't normally associate with. Give them all a quick safe. How's it going, mate? How's it going? What are you guys up to? Start having a conversation. Once you start that conversation and the ice is broken, you find out actually you've got a lot more in common with people that aren't part of your social demographic than you realize. And I'm saying that about homeless people because they have the same fears and the same insecurities as you. They have the same, some of them have the same, like when it comes to standards, you think they want to be in that situation? Do you think how good, do you think it makes them feel good to be dirty? And no, they feel the same as you, and it makes them feel ashamed. You would react the exact same way if you were in that situation.
100%.
So we're all kind of similar in our own little ways. You got to be able to find out that.
And we're only like, with regards to like homeless people, we're only, I heard this on TV and it made me really think. I think it was like, we are only one decision away from being in their footsteps.
Exactly.
And that's true, man.
Especially with these tariffs are going up around the world at the moment.
God, yeah.
I mean, I was talking about with my wife. I was like, I don't think they understand the problems this is going to cause is people are going to lose their jobs, their businesses, because of decisions being made right now. So, like, we need to be a bit more. This is the one, right? So, I'm going to do Round the Recon in a sec, right? But I'm going to get political with one of them. We did say we're not going to get political, but there is a thing I need to bring up into it, and that was I'll put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. We'll do it in a second.
Calm down.
Yeah. I'm saying we need to be nicer. You know what I mean?
100%.
And more understanding. And that is why podcasting is important, because it opens those conversations. And even if it's like, one of my favorite podcasts, I've always said this, is Bad Friends, Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. And they talk about some horrendous stuff. Like, they're horrible to each other, but they're like family, they're brothers. Andrew Santino is probably one of the only people on the planet that can do a racist Chinese accent to his friend who's from Korea, and they'll laugh it off to it because they're that close. That's all they can do. And like, I love that. You watch a podcast like that, you feel like you're part of the family. You feel like you're part of the brethren. You know what I mean? And that's why.
There's lots of things you have to be careful with these podcasts, and I've quickly come to learn that. Without mentioning names, I did a podcast for an organisation where the leader of the co-founder of the organisation went a bit deep. I kind of wanted to home in on just the organisation, but of course he had to go deep to tell me where the idea first came from this organisation, and he outed a couple of family members on the podcast, and I put it out there, and the grief I got back for putting that out there from said family members. It really made me go, whoa, I really need to be careful on content here.
When it comes to, I've got a disclaimer.
It's a learning curve.
On my website, I've got a disclaimer now that explains that once you're on the podcast, what you say is what is.
I need one of them.
Yeah. AI, man. literally tell AI what you want to do, and it'll
just get Snoop Dogg to say it, and then no one's gonna. No one's going to mess with Snoop Dogg.
No, yeah, it's because like sometimes you got to make people realize what you say on the podcast kind of be out there. You know what I mean? I've always been very good, and like I have been burned a couple of times, not once, where somebody said, "Well, I need to." No, recently. Do I talk about this openly? I don't know. Are you aware of? I don't know if I need. There was somebody that I worked with recently
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. There's
exactly
somebody I worked with recently that's gone to prison for something nasty.
Yeah.
So I don't want to mention his name. I don't know. That is grief, what I'm feeling right now, because I had this idea of a person who turns out to be a bit of a monster. So that original person that I would try to help and try to give a bit of love to is a monster. Right. So now what I'm feeling is anger that person could do that horrible thing, and also the loss of the person I thought he was. You know what I mean? And then I've had to go, and I'm going to try not to get emotional. We did the second year of Pod Aid, 24-hour live podcast. We raised thousands for Lincoln Davis. It went out live on YouTube. We had famous stars. We had Pete Bennett from Big Brother. That guy. We had loads of people on the podcast.
I've met Pete.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. And we had such an amazing time. I made friends with Jeffrey Wiseman from Back to the Future. Like, amazing. I've had to delete all of that. It's gone forever because he was on it. All the podcasts he's been part of, gone forever. Like, there are times when you can, with trying to do something nice, you can accidentally do something wrong. And that is like, you've got to be able to like carry on, I guess, because, you know, anybody can come on your podcast and talk about good things, but then be a bit of an asshole.
Absolutely. You know, I've had, again, not mentioning any names, but there was a very controversial podcast that dropped on my channel, and it was, I can say about it because, you know, he put it out there on the podcast and it's in the news. There used to be an acoustic band called Loose Lips that used to play in many different venues. It consisted of a vocalist. I won't mention names, but I've mentioned the band. A vocalist and a guitarist, just the two of them. They were amazing together. Real raw, you know, they were destined for big things. Now, the vocalist and the guitarist were absolute best mates. They did everything together. They traveled the UK together. The vocalist thought he knew the guitarist inside out, and there was nothing more to know. Now, this is where it gets a bit deep, and, you know, I hope you don't mind me kind of putting this out on your podcast, because, you know, it has gone live on mine and it is common knowledge in the papers. So the guitarist came to the vocalist and said, look, you know, we need to quit Loose Lips. And the vocalist was like, how do you mean? Like, we're literally booked up every weekend for the whole of next year. I've just got something going on. Now, the vocalist was like, well, what is it? And the guitarist wouldn't give anything away. Now, the vocalist found out that the guitarist was due in court a couple of weeks later. So the vocalist got his suit on, got suited and booted, and headed over to this court to find out what was going on. Now, the guitarist, who was his best mate, that he knew through and through and knew everything about him and had years of experience with him and grew up with him, the guitarist stood on the dock and was up for copious amounts of paedophile charges. Now, that was an absolute eye-opener for me as a host, to host that and to see the pain in the vocalist's eyes of what he thought he knew this man through and through was deep. And yeah, it was just a learning curve for me. I feel like you're going to say something here, Alex, so go for it.
No. When you talk about this, I was like, oh God, how are we going to make this like fluffy and delightful for a podcast? But actually, no, it's really important to talk about these things because there might be somebody in Manchester, in Helsinki, in Germany, or somewhere around the world that's had a similar situation, and they might listen to your podcast and go, I went for that too. Yeah. I've seen that happen before.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, you know, he thought he knew his best friend so well. You thought you knew this. I know he wasn't your best friend, but you thought you knew this man very well.
Yeah.
But what was going on behind closed doors, you know? And this guitarist was actually found not guilty, which is just crazy, and walked away free and has gone nowhere to be seen now. But that vocalist is left. The band has gone. Everything's gone. His best friend, who he thought he knew, has disappeared now, nowhere to be seen. And that vocalist is now left with mourning his best friend because he's all of a sudden disappeared, nowhere to be seen, and the anger as well of everything that his best friend was doing behind closed doors, you know. And yeah, it shows that what I'm trying to say is it just shows that you just don't know people as much as you think you do.
And we have to have these difficult conversations. And if you know what, like, podcasts are not like, they're not natural, are they? Because we are sat in front of a microphone. But if we can have the difficult conversations that you're too scared to have out in the real life, I don't mind doing that. I mean, I'm talking about at the moment, I want to help out Ukraine because I think there's lots of misinformation at the moment, and I've reached out to somebody I know so that we can have those difficult conversations. And I'm like, I want to be raw with it. I want to talk about what is actually going on in Ukraine. People are losing family members daily about what's going on and yet there's been flippant comments been thrown around. And social media is just like an absolute cesspit at the moment. Like, let's talk about the real things. What is actually going on? There's lots of nonsense in the comments at the moment on Facebook, but is that actually real? No, I don't think it is. But yeah, I applaud you for doing what you do. I know it's not been an easy transition because you've had to learn how to do this.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I think I was in your inbox quite regularly. How'd you set this up, Alex? How'd you do this? What do I need to buy?
But that's what we need, right? We need peer support from people that do these things. When it comes to podcasting, I was talking about how the environment's changed. Like, there are so many amazing podcasters around us in Shropshire now that if you reached out, they would come on your podcast in a second.
Yes.
They would support you in a second. It's not like that. There are people out there that are very thirsty for that kind of clicks and likes and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're part of any Facebook groups or anything where you share your link for your podcast, they like share links of their podcast on your podcast. It's like,
oh really?
Yeah.
Don't listen to that. Listen to mine. I've got X amount of subscribers.
When I first started, I was kind of like, I'm going to go on podcast groups and I'm going to share my podcast. Like, podcast creators are going to listen to my podcast because it's the worst place to go and share it. Like that, literally on there for support. And how do I take this fuzz out the back of the audio? And how do I do this? How do I connect this microphone up to this? How do you work this mix? That is what that's for.
Yeah, they're not there to rejoice in your podcast.
Exactly. No. Yeah. You have these delusions when you first start out. So it's good to have those people around you. Like, actually, no, you want to do this. You want to go over there and do this. And that's why I love this community. And I'll reach out. Any podcasters that are listening to this, whether you're part of the music scene or not, reach out to Dribbz, because I know that you got a waiting list, haven't you? There are people lining up to come.
I've got 12 on my waiting list so far. So yeah, and if I had my way, I'd be getting them done now. That's one of what I'm like. If someone says to me, "I want to come on your podcast," is 2 weeks time okay? I'm like, is tomorrow okay? Yeah, that's just the way I am. It's just the way I am.
Things are like, I mean, I used to be like that because I used to do like 3 nights, and then I'd have the rest of the week off. 3 nights, the rest of the week off.
I remember you said to me, was it only yesterday on the phone, you were like, you've got that bug for the podcasts, and I'm like, yeah, you can relate to that one when you first started.
You just want to go with it. And that's why that old job was great, because I have those like 4 days to be able to like do whatever I want with. Do you know what I mean? And even when I was working, because it was a support worker role, and when everyone was in bed, I could whip my laptop out and do some editing. So there's always time to be able to go make it. So more. Yeah,
it's worked out well for me, Alex, because like I've been a teaching assistant for special needs kids for 15 years. That was my trade, and my mental health was deteriorating, and I weren't happy with things in my job, so I quit my job. It wasn't to move to a different position. I just quit my job. Obviously long term I am going to look at getting back into something that I enjoy doing, but now at the moment I've got the time to do this, Alex. Do you know what I mean? I'm a foster carer as well. That's kind of our job. Me and my wife, we're foster carers, so doing the podcasts it works at the moment, Alex. So while it works, I'm going to ride the train for as long as I can.
Yeah, man. And you need to get me on Dribbz Talks as well.
100%.
So that we can really get into it. You know what I mean? I want to talk about music. I want to get on some music podcasts.
I know you've got a wide range of music interests, so I am well up for that, mate. Music. And I know you've spoke to some very big artists as well. So I'm very interested in your story as well. So we will definitely add you to that waiting list. And if you can come earlier than 6.5 months, then I'll bump you up that waiting list, mate. Do you know what I mean?
What about tomorrow? I'm joking.
Let's do it now.
But listen, we've got to play Around the Weekend, so it's now time for insert music. Around the Weekend. I did say to Vix, I bumped into her outside school, I wasn't going to do it without Vix because it's kind of our thing, but we can do an unofficial one now if you like. And what we'll do is the two things we disclose that we want to get rid of, we'll put in a poll and we'll decide which one was the most popular. But I'm going to give you an opportunity. I did say to Round the Weekend is an opportunity to send something into oblivion, something that's really annoyed you, and think Room 101 basically. And did you think of one?
I thought of one, but you've just mentioned that I needed to find two there, and I'm a bit nervous.
No, two. One for me, one
from you. Perfect. Okay. Yes, I have got one. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay, so my biggest gripe that I would love to send into oblivion, and I'd love to add to Around the Weekend, is baby changing facilities in women's toilets.
Only.
Do you know what I mean? Now, this really gripes me. Yeah. This is such an old attitude to have. And with me being a foster carer, so we mainly only foster newborn babies. So I am very a hands-on foster carer. And ever since my kids were little, and even to this day, 2025, we are still having establishments where, I'll say to my wife, I'll go and change the baby, and I'll go up to the pub or, the restaurant, and I'll say, where's your baby changing facilities? And I'll go, in the women's toilets. Now, come on, Alex. It's 2025,
I'm a dad. I've been there, done it.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? It's
even the Myla Hospital in Wrexham when I was younger, they were in the women's toilets. I was like, this is a hospital.
Mate, honestly, right, I have had to change a baby on the floor of a disabled toilet, or in the pushchair I've had to change the baby because I can't physically go into.
Have you ever done a stand-up change before? That's an incredible skill to have. You can do a stand-up change.
I don't think I have. In all the years I've been doing this, I don't think I have.
Stand-up changes, man. If you can do a stand-up nappy change, you are the freaking Don. I've done that before.
So that's my biggest gripe that I'd like to send in.
Very good one.
It's a very old school attitude to have that only women change a baby. This is 2025. We've got same-sex toilets, KFC in Telford, you go through the door to the toilets and it's one room with male and female can enter any of them toilets. So if that's available, then why the hell have we not got a specific changing room? And don't get me wrong, there is some facilities that have a baby changing facility for any gender to use, but all I seem to be finding in this day and age that there's a lot of establishments that still only have baby changing facilities in the women's toilets, and I think that's a very good point to make.
Very good, very good. I almost don't want to supply one now because I think that's really poignant. Mine is going to sound very odd and very if you can't have nice things, you can't have nothing at all. But I want to get rid of reactions on Facebook, reactions to posts. Likes, the care, the love, the laugh, and the hate. Because I feel like we're losing empathy, we're losing compassion all the way. But when it comes to the laughing emoji, I feel like it's being used to bully people an awful lot at the moment. I feel like they need to put some thought into that. And I think if you like a post, just like it. You don't have to show people you like it. I mean, I do show my appreciation for things because it is a thing that exists. But what if we just take them away for a little bit and see how the world changes? Because I do think it will make a huge effect. If you can release the trailer for the latest DC movie, whatever, and there's not all laughing face emojis and all these incels that are ruining actors' careers and all this sort of stuff. I feel like it might help people.
Yeah, and I suppose with a laughing emoji, it's are they laughing because they're laughing at it, or are they laughing with it? Yeah,
I find the care emoji a little bit like that meme with what's her name from Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, where she's like, Like, you know, they're kind of like, oh, right, like, I realize this is an audio, but like the care emoji, I feel like can be like almost like an ironic, you know?
And it can be quite patronising, I suppose.
That's the word I was looking for.
I'll help you out there, bro.
Yeah.
Can I add a cheeky one in?
Yeah.
Is that all right? Because I don't know if it's sticking to the rules, but, you know, we'll go with it anyway. Another one of mine for someone that deals with severe anxiety pretty much every day of my life, you know, and we will get into a bit of the mental health and the things that I've been through. The blue ticks on WhatsApp. So with them, and I can tell you agree with me here, back in the day because I'm from an era where we had the Nokia 402s with Snake, you know, we didn't have 2 ticks, we didn't have blue ticks. Here we go, there we go. Alex is showing me the back of his phone just for the viewers. That's not a 402, that one. I think that's a 3210 if I remember rightly.
3210.
There you go, come on. So yeah, with them, for someone that deals with anxiety, you know, I can send a message and it'll get blue ticked. And then they haven't responded back to me. So I'm like, well, they've seen it, but they've not responded. Is there something I've done wrong? What was the last message we had? What was the last engagement? Oh, what's the last interaction? Oh, well, it was all right. It was positive. So, but it's blue tick. So why haven't they got in touch with me? Back in the day, we never had that. So we didn't, you know, we weren't aware of whether they've seen it and ignored it. So there's another one, the blue ticks on WhatsApp.
Yeah. And the mad thing is I can have WhatsApp open on my laptop in the one room and it'll look as though I've read the thing and I haven't seen it on my phone. Or sometimes, you know, I'll be like at work and I'll be like, you know, because we've had this thing, haven't we, the last couple of days where we're trying to organize this podcast and you've been like, oh, Alex, we need to organize it. And I have anxiety and I am totally with you. I'm feeling anxiety and the other side, I'm thinking I haven't planned it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it is difficult, isn't it? Like communication just needs to be simplified, I think. We don't need to stick around. We don't need to mess around with, I'll take it out. We don't have to mess around with like overcomplicating. Like I find the big thumb on Messenger so patronizing. Like if I write a message and I'm like, yeah, I'll make sure this is good. And somebody goes, I'm like,
you think I've wrote all that and all you could do is give me a thumbs up, you know? Can you imagine in society if we were like that? Like, you know, I've got this really important thing to say, you know, I've been feeling it, and then someone just puts a thumb in your face. Yeah, mate, it's not good, is it? It's not good.
And to be fair, I've just completely like done a U-turn because I'm like, yeah, sometimes I'm too busy, I can't respond. At least a thumb is a response of some kind. Do you know what I mean?
True.
But like, I think it can be misconstrued as like, just like, yeah, whatever. That's how I see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather, But listen, Dribbz, this has been amazing. How long have we gone for?
We're on 52 minutes, but I'm good to carry on. It's up to you.
Yeah, but what I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to sort of sell yourself as an artist. I mean, we talked about your stuff, but we've got like 10 minutes just to sort of say, what are you working on at the moment that you are really, really excited about?
I'd say my next album, you know, my first album, as I explained to you before, was a drum and bass MC trying to find his voice in the world of hip hop.
Yeah.
My second album, which is the one I've presented to you today, is very much, I've found my voice in the world of hip hop and I know my place within the world of hip hop. And I feel this third album is going to be even better. And, you know, you're only as good as your last project, Alex. That's what I kind of, you know, go with. You're only as good as your last show. You're only as good as your last track. So with each of my albums, I try to knock it up a level. So it's, you know, there's more artists being featured, there's more instruments being used, live instruments being used. I want to take this on the road, as in to do live PAs of my shows. I've got the opportunity in a month's time to go into schools, Alex. Now, when I quit my job of 15 years, my wife was like, you know, what are you going to do with yourself? You know, what job are you going to take on? And I said, I don't actually know, but all I know is I want to work with the youth. That was kind of my focus, but I had no way of even doing this. Now, they say things happen for a reason, Alex, and I strongly believe that, because when I quit my job, I did a performance in Donington, in my hometown, at Christmas for the Christmas lights switch on, and the council invited me down to perform my hip hop tracks, and it went really, really well. It was absolutely bucking it down, and I was really, really disappointed with the weather, and I thought no one would come out, but trust me, like, 80 or 90% of Donington came out just for my set, and they kind of had umbrellas and they were just chilling, and it was amazing. And from that, Alex, I had a company get in touch with me. In fact, they were there and they watched me, and they asked me if they were starting to go into schools to do motivational activities, and they've asked me to come with them now into the schools, a few schools that I used to be ex-students from, junior schools, secondary schools, and they've asked me to come into these schools with them to do motivational talks about mental health and about speaking more, and then just to perform a couple of my tracks and then work closely with these children. And trust me, Alex, this is everything that I strive to do. You know, I want to be the person that I needed when I was younger. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's nice.
The thing, trust me, that's kind of how I go. Like, back in the day when I was going through things that I was going through, I never really had that solid male role model. You know, I had my stepdad, but he came in later years. But my earlier years, I never had that solid male role model. So that's kind of what I take into account when I carry myself, everything I write about, everything I try to perceive myself as Dribbz. I want to be that person that I needed when I was younger, and I hope that I can bridge the gap with other children that are experiencing things. I think that's kind of my main focus.
Yeah, that's really good, because obviously...
Do you like that answer, Alex?
I like that, because Ben Butler is a mutual friend of ours, and that's someone...
He came on the podcast, Ben did.
Yeah, he's been on The Biscuit, I think, twice. He came on You Suck as well, talked about... and it's really nice to, like I said, someone from a different walk of life, like he was an enforcer for County Lines, like now he's helping young people, like that's just incredible.
Ben's actually got a book out soon. It's on pre-order now. You can buy his book. He's also got a play on his life, which
and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it,
mate. So Ben's got New Generation Coaching, which is obviously his coaching program, which he goes into schools. Exactly what I'm trying to do now, really. He goes into schools and does motivational talks. He's also got his book out on pre-order, and as well as that, he's also got a play on his life, which he's asked me to come down and perform a couple of my tracks on, which I'm very honoured to do that. Yeah, so he's doing amazing things, Ben is. He really is. And I didn't know him from anyone. He was an absolute stranger to me until he come to the podcast. And from sitting...
I just thought you guys knew each other. That's mad.
Didn't know him at all. Didn't even know he existed. My brother lives a couple of doors away from him. My brother was like, he's quite an interesting lad. Check him out. And we sat here, and from that podcast, we've now became good friends.
And the bridge there is like the mental health thing, because the last time he came on was with Chan Man and a couple of others. They were talking about the boxing and stuff. Chan Man's just like, he's just completely something else.
He's the poster boy for ADHD. Come on, big up Chan.
Unleashed. I think he's great, because he's just like, he's so out there that you like. I think if you were from a different world to us council estate kids, you'd be like, oh no, oh my God, I'm in danger. But I feel like I can get on a level with people. And I think he really he was fine with that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, with going in to help the youth is just so important, because we're steering away from the compassion and the care, and you need to be able to remind these kids that the world's a tough place out there, but there are ways that we can divert those negative feelings and those things that we're scared of. We can actually make something positive out of it.
100%.
So there are role models out there.
Yeah, 100%. When you talk about things that I'm excited about, it's definitely going into the schools. You know, it's taking it to another level. It's kind of using my platform because you know these children, they need kind of role models. They need positive things. You know, I don't get in trouble with the law. I haven't got a shady past as in crime, but I've been through life experiences, with my emotions, and I'm not ashamed to talk about it, and like the kids from Donington, most of them, their parents have bought my album or they've come down to watch me perform, so they certainly know who I am. So when when I land in these schools and I'm talking, I hope that they'll listen up. I really do. I was speaking to Trade about this the other day, because obviously Trade's done a lot of social work, a lot of working in the community, and I said to Trade, like, I'm known for my matching tracksuits. That's kind of my trademark. The shades, the cap, the matching tracksuits. Although I'm not matching this morning.
Painted on the wall. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm known for it. Like, I've got my hoodies and, everything's branded. My cups, everything. But I'd have it tattooed on my head if I could, But yeah, I'm hoping they'll relate to me. And what I was saying to Trade was, when I land in these schools, do I wear a shirt and tie? do I look formal or do I wear my tracksuits that I'm known for? And trades like, trust me, just wear what you're known for, your tracksuits. They'll respect you a lot more, because this is the thing.
Gotta be yourself.
The company that have asked me to come down, they're struggling to get Donington on a whole engaged, because they're landing into these communities with shirt tie lanyards, and the Donington community are going, whoa, I'm not engaging with these guys, they look too formal.
Yeah. So what up, children, fam? Like,
do you know what I mean? I've been looking at a book on slang, so yes, mate. So yeah, I think they're kind of using me as the front man to get into these communities, but I'm fine with them using me as a front man, because it's getting me to do what I want to do. And at the moment, it's just freelance, but who knows what will come off that, Alex?
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows what will come off it? And I'm one of these that, I'm rabbiting here, I'm sorry, but...
No, it's a podcast, you're allowed to.
I'm one of these that, like, I've got no shame in reaching out to people. I'm not one of these that goes, oh, I better not approach that college, because if they say no, then do. I literally, like, I was waiting with my daughter the other day. She had a college interview at TCAT, and yeah, I found the person that's, one of the top dogs at TCAT, and I was like, I'm Dribbz, I do this. Would you like me to come and speak to the youth in the college? And they were like, hell yeah, definitely, we'd be well up for that. So if I wasn't such a forward person, I probably wouldn't get these opportunities. But I was always brought up, my granddad and my nan always said, you don't ask, you don't get. And the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
And I've had so many opportunities by being that cheeky little sod. It's worked, man.
Yeah, and this is where I get myself into trouble as well. Like, oh, we can do this, and then we can do that, and then we can put this over here, and then but by the end of it, I'm kind of like, what have I done? What have I done? Like, we've got so many amazing things. We've got the UK proms. They've just announced that Judge Rinder is going to be the host, and they've got Howard from Take That. I'm allowed to say it on the podcast, and I'll print it though. Howard from Take That is going to be there. We're going to be hosting. We're going to be like hosting podcasts there, and Shrewsbury Comic Con, we're going to have a studio set up there for the day. We're going to be speaking to Charlie Adlard very soon about what's going on. We've got the Loop Fest. We're going to be walking around. Are you going to be doing anything with Loop Fest?
I'm not doing Loop Fest, but I've been asked by Basland, Barry Holland, if I can bring the podcast equipment down to Heel Festival at the Shrewsbury West.
I want to do Heel this year because I haven't done it before.
Yeah, I'm performing there anyway, but he's asked me to bring the podcast equipment down, so I'm, I've been...
If the organisers of Heel are listening to this, I'd love
to
to
will be listening to it. They will listen to it.
I would love to come to Heel because it's something I've not had the opportunity to do yet. So I've got a marquee. Maybe we could do like a thing. I've got him a marquee.
Do you know what? I was going to say this to you. The things that you've got going on and the things that I've potentially got going on. It would be lovely if we could do something together. Podcast and your Shrewsbury Biscuit and Dribbz Talks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm like. I will put that. You've just said it then, but in my head then I was thinking, ask him, and I will do that. I've got no shame in doing that. I've got a marquee.
I've got studios. I can set up on the top of the Wrekin if I wanted.
And this is what I love about it. You're not thinking, I'm not having him tread on my toes. This is my podcast.
Oh no, I love a good collab.
And this is what I love about the Shrewsbury Biscuit. It's inclusive. It's not. You're not looking at me as rival, and I'm certainly not doing that at all. Like I said, I can't stress that enough. But yeah, I think if people are local and they're doing fantastic things, why not come together as one project? I think things, doors and opportunities will open up so much more. I got apologies to the guys from Shropshire Business Festival. Beth and Claire and the team there. I love the Pink Ladies to bits, but they were like, "Do you want to do the Shrewsbury Business Festival?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's after a night shift. I'll come there." And I slept for it. I spoke to Claire Pocock just last night. She was like, "I didn't see you at the business fest." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I was asleep." Wow.
But they were like, "There's going to be radio here. There's going to be podcasters there." I was like, "Yeah." These are my people. Like,
exactly.
We can definitely get that together.
It's my most natural habitat.
Yeah. Get a microphone. There's going to be 3 microphones about? Get me in front of them. That's great.
100%.
But yeah, Heel Festival, I definitely want to do. I want to do more festivals because we used to do a lot. We used to do, I've done the Folk Festival in Shrewsbury, which is one of the biggest ones. We always do the Food Festival. We always do the food festival. I went to Shrewsbury Food Festival this year, and I had my H6, and I walked in, and my batteries died.
Oh no!
Couldn't do it. It's the first time ever that we haven't done the food festival, so we need to go big this year. You can go big.
100%.
I'd love to do a collab with you. I think we should do like a series of Biscuit Drib, just me and you.
Yeah, I'd love that. And we can both talk the talk, you know. It's not like, you know, one of us is any lesser than the other. You know, you've got a hell of a lot of experience over me, but I'm learning, man. You know, like I said to you, I'm very keen to learn. I'm very keen to take advice. Big up to the aeroplane that's flying over the house right now. Yeah.
Life happens.
I wonder where that aeroplane's heading to. Somewhere exotic, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very keen to learn. I'm very keen to grow, and you know, I'll take any advice from anyone. And like I said, mate, like, you know, Shrewsbury Biscuit originally inspired me to do this. So it would be an absolute honour to work a lot more with you.
Amazing. Tell people where they can find you on socials, where they can listen to your music, my man. So,
like Bass Phase, I'm like Dog Muck. I get absolutely everywhere. I shove my music down people's throat until they listen to it. Yeah, man, just type in Dribbz, DRIBBZ, on YouTube. Obviously, the Dribbz Talks podcasts are available on YouTube and Spotify. Yeah, I'm active on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the good stuff. I'm there. But yeah, I just type it in, man. You'll see all my interviews with radio, all appearances and collabs. It's all active on the socials.
Brilliant, my man. Thank you so much for inviting me around your house today. It's nice. I said to my wife, I'm not taking any equipment. She's like, you're not taking your stuff? I was like, no.
I bet it feels weird, doesn't it?
I felt light. I mean, people genuinely see me rocking up and down the cop with I have a silver case on a handle I pull along, I have a rucksack on my back, and a big blue case I carry my mixer in, and they see me charging around Shrewsbury with all my stuff ready to set up somewhere. And today I just got into my car, so I appreciate it.
And it's so strange for me because, you know, I'm so used to being the person that asks the questions. It's nice to be on the other end. But
it's a conversation. This has been really good because I feel like we're on a level, we're on a par. I feel like we've kind of like worked together in the past. I feel like we've had conversations, but I think today's the first time we've actually clicked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. You know, like you said, when you got out of the car, you were like, it's nice to meet you. And like straight away I thought, I'm sure we've met each other in the past, but we haven't. We haven't. We spoke through socials, but yeah, it's nice to finally meet you. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for where this journey takes us.
Well, don't go anywhere, listeners. I'll do a little outro after this, and then we'll clear up last week's Around the Wrekin. We'll find out how that poll went. If we did one. I don't even think we did one. No, we did with Peter Metcalf. So, no, we didn't do one. So, do you know what? Just don't even listen to me. But thank you so much for tuning in. And Dribbz, thank you so much for inviting me around. And yeah, guys, peace out. Cool. Oh, what a great podcast that was. Thank you, Dribbz, for inviting me to your home, giving me a free CD, and being so accommodating in your lovely home. Thank you so much. Talking about mental health and music. I mean, it was great just chatting about music, to be honest. I mean, I find that quite relaxing, talking about music I used to love and stuff. What music do you enjoy, Vix?
All sorts, yeah. I think I've got quite what they call an eclectic, I can only just say that word, taste. So I like all sorts of music, but I love, I'm really into all rapping and stuff as well. You know, I'm quite cool. I'm down with the kids.
One of my favourite, we mentioned Wu-Tang a lot in this podcast, actually. I like my Wu-Tang. And Ren is somebody I found recently.
Yeah, Ren's really cool, actually. I was quite surprised at how much I liked Ren.
He's amazing. Seriously, I mentioned him in the podcast, and so did Dribbz, how gripping he is as an artist.
Especially with mental health. It's really moving, isn't it?
My name is Hello Ren. This song is called Hello Ren, is one of his songs. And I mentioned that during this podcast. I encourage all of you to go and just take a look at it. Even if you're not a big fan of hip hop, just like look at the passion in this guy's, how he performs this. This guy is like, he's classically trained with music, with instruments, and he can rap amazingly as well. So, just to talk about music is really, really good.
Yeah, I like any kind of music that if it moves me, it's like, you know, if I find that I have like an emotional response in one way or another, you know, it could be like elation, really happy, excitable, or it could be that, you know, something quite moody or dark or something touch into, like, you know, different areas, isn't it? It's like, and it depends what kind of mood you're in yourself or how you want to feel. If you want to feel uplifted, if you want to feel moved, if you want to feel that you can relate to it, that you've been through something similar. I think it is so important to experience your emotions through music, really.
Do you ever cry to music? I've done that before. Yeah. There was Blurry by Puddle of Mud I used to listen to. Obviously, being estranged from my kids, listening to that, it used to like kill me. Like, but like you're talking about eclectic taste in music. I'll be listening to like Duality by Slipknot, and then Nas will come on. I'll be listening to hip hop, then Wu-Tang, and then Duel of Fates, classical music from Star Wars will come on. The last episode we talked about how I nearly cried at the Jurassic Park music. You know, it's so amazing to be able to do that, and there is a strong link between music and mental health. So well done, Dribbz, for honing in on that and being a big champion of that. And make sure you give Dribbz a follow. He's got the Dribbz Talks podcast, and he's also got his own Dribbz creator page as well on Instagram. Give him a follow. He's a great guy. He really is.
I am following you, Dribbz. I'm following you, Dribbz, on both. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook.
And he's also so positive as well. Like, yo, big up my man Alex. You're like, oh, I'm on the podcast. He's so like positive, and he was like that the whole time I was there. And he's like, yo, Alex, so yeah, Dribbz, you're ace. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and I want to come on your podcast too. So make sure you book me in. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you guys follow us on social media as well, please. If this is your first time listening, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. Don't do Twitter anymore. It's a bit of a cesspit. But yeah, make sure you give us a follow, and yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one, which is going to be we've got a bonus bit of content coming up where the Shrewsbury moves, and then you went to Shropshire Women in Business.
Yeah.
And then we've got Camilla Monk, and we're going to be talking about Shropshire Women in Business.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
With Katie Millard as well, the happiness coach. That's the next episodes you got to look forward to. We've got loads to do.
So much. This is why you've got to follow us on Facebook.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys. Peace out.
Bye.